Welcome to the first episode of the Bubble Podcast, your weekly English language guide to all things Spain, from politics and economy to pop culture, gossip, whatever chaos is trending this week. I'm Adrian Bono, coming to you from Madrid. I'm joined by my co-hosts Ian Mount.
Hello.
And Ignacio de los Reyes.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estáis?
Together, we'll break down the stories everyone in Spain is talking about and a few they probably should be. Today, we're going to be talking NATO. We're going to be talking paying taxes in Spain and the return of a legendary band that has everyone talking. So stick around.
And remember, you can always find us on thebubble.com.
And follow us on social. We're on Instagram and TikTok as thebubble.com.
All right, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
All right, now let's talk about Spain's new favorite geopolitical headache, which is...
Donald Trump.
And NATO.
And NATO together.
So together. That's not a good combo. For those of you listening at home, Spain has been one of the laggards for a long time when it comes to defense budgets. For years, we've spent just over 1% of GDP on our military. But this year, for the first time ever, Spain, in theory, actually reached the 2% goal set by NATO back in 2014, when Russia annexed Ukraine. By the way, that was supposed to be the benchmark of all the allies by 2024, right? Madrid even had to fast track that spending, adding more than 10 billion euros to its defense budget to meet the target ahead of schedule. Now, that would have normally been seen as a diplomatic win, but Donald Trump has not been making things easier for us, because he's now back in the White House and he's playing a new version of The Apprentice, NATO edition. What's up with that? Why is suddenly Donald Trump so fixated on Spain hitting its 5% of GDP budget for defense budget?
I mean, I think you can roll the question back to who Trump is. I think he, as a deal maker, he looks at this as a way to prove that he's not getting screwed, that the U.S. is not paying more than his fair share. And historically, the U.S. has paid a lot more than other countries into NATO.
But the U.S. is not paying 5% now. It's paying 3 point something.
But
right?
for years, the other NATO companies were paying 2% less. I mean, at one point, Spain was paying in less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
So I think he for him, this is a way of showing that he's being a good deal maker and making sure that NATO countries are paying their fair share. And in that sense, it's just like The Apprentice. He would yell, "You're fired," to Pedro Sánchez if he could.
Right. But over the summer, Trump convinced the other NATO members to raise the spending to 5% of their GDP. And a lot of them said yes, that they would do it. They're not doing it yet.
In fact, all except one.
Right. And Spain is the only one that said, no, we're not going to do it.
That's correct.
And this is why he's got it out for Pedro Sánchez. But how many of those countries have actually started doing anything to hit that goal?
I mean, you've seen a big difference between the countries depending where they're located. The countries on the border with Russia,
like Poland,
or the Baltics, or Finland are now putting a lot of money into their defense because they actually have a personal reason to want to defend themselves. While Southern European countries, especially Spain, Portugal, Greece, tend not to put as much money in. But everyone agreed to raise that to their defense spending to 3.5%, at plus 1.5% on things that could be related to defense, with the knowledge that most of them actually wouldn't.
I have to
put
so
there.
Somewhat related to defense. But like, has anyone actually done any of that? Or are they just saying that to appease Donald Trump?
Oh, both. They've done a little bit, and they're doing it to appease Donald Trump, knowing that by the time they actually have to make that raise, in theory, won't be in office anymore. So they'll start moving up, and they'll just say they were doing it.
Right. And I think that the problem with Sanchez is that he's the only one that said,
no, I won't do it.
Right. And now Trump is threatening to apply special tariffs on Spain, which is something that he can't do.
Well, I mean, that is the big question here. When you talk about punishment, what does he mean?
Right. But like he's floated the idea of maybe applying special tariffs to Spain, but because Spain is part of the EU, he should not be able to
Right.
to
It's
do
just
that.
one state in the
It's
union.
just one state in the union.
So he could figure out tariffs on Spanish products. You could have massive olive tariffs if you wanted to,
Right.
but or charge American tourists who go to Spain taxes on their spending in Spain. But there's not much you can do.
Why is Sanchez saying no to this? Why is he refusing to comply with Trump? Why doesn't he want to do 5%?
I mean, I think you can look at this just in local politics. This is Sanchez playing to people, other parties in his coalition or parties that support him in the local government, knowing that they won't let him raise defense spending anyway. And so it helps him with a certain voter on the left. It's local politics that is determining this. It has little, if anything, to do with Donald Trump, other than it makes him look like he's standing up to Donald Trump, to his local voters.
Right. That's what I was going to ask, because there's been a lot of talks, even in the international press, saying that Sanchez is positioning himself as the anti-Trump on the other side of the Atlantic. Is this part of that strategy?
Yeah, of course. It's easy to do. You say you're not going to spend money on this. Trump says negative things about you, so you look like you're fighting with the big orange man, and then nothing happens.
But also, to what extent can Trump, or does Trump want to move forward with this war? I mean, we here in Spain, there's 2 U.S. military bases, Rota and Moron, in Andalusia. I've been surprised by how sort of like friendly, quote unquote, Trump has been with Sanchez until now, when they're pretty much antithetical with each other. Right. So is this why is Trump suddenly being not as aggressive towards Sanchez because of the U.S.'s military interests in Spain?
Oh, I mean, I think this is an easy fight for either of them to have, and doesn't cost either of them a lot of support or money, if you will. What also needs to be noted is that most of the time this comes up and Trump makes vague threats to Spain, it's in response to a question asked by one journalist in the Spanish press corps who's assigned to Washington.
Right. So it's not like this is something that's in his mind.
No,
regularly.
He's not constantly obsessed with Andalusia.
Right. And in fact, when they were together in Egypt for the peace accords between Israel and Palestine, he seemed to be somewhat congratulatory of Pedro Sánchez, or that's what it sounded like when he said, you guys are doing a good job. But it wasn't really clear whether he was talking about Sánchez or he was talking about the people negotiating with Sánchez in order to get...
Or with the other people in the room.
Or with the other people in the room. Where are we with that? Because it seemed to be, there was a handshake. They seemed to be very friendly with each other. It was all smiles. And then just one day later, he's back at, I'm very disappointed with Spain. Spain is not
a team player.
Not a team player. So where is this going? We've seen the EU respond that it was going to defend Spain in case Trump tried to apply.
All tariffs have to be applied through the EU, not on individual countries.
Right. And they were like, they would respond appropriately, basically saying, don't test us, which is, interesting coming from the EU when suddenly, lately, the EU has always sort of like bowed their heads to Trump. So where does this go? How does it end? Does it end? Or do we just keep fighting?
No, I think we keep having small arguments here and there and in random press briefings and then move on. I don't think it has to end.
We remember that a few weeks ago we compared Sanchez to Trump and some of his strategies we said that mirrored some of Donald Trump's
the use of sort of distraction.
Right. Is this kind of like benefiting both of them?
Yeah. It benefits. It makes Sanchez look like he's a bigger political player than he may be, standing up to the U.S., standing up to Trump. and it makes Trump appear serious about NATO spending and protecting the U.S. Treasury or U.S. treasure from freeloaders, and everybody's happy at the end of the day.
Well, is everybody happy? First of all, let me ask: do Spaniards care about this debate? Do Spaniards care about the fact that Trump and Sanchez are picking fights and about hitting 5% of the GDP, or do they? Is this kind of like a Madrid, Brussels, DC thing that no one else cares about?
Oh, I think, for example, that Sanchez's voters in the PSOE are probably happy and are, proud of their leader for standing up to Donald Trump. It provides a talking point in the running battle between the PSOE and the PP, because the PP will say, look what you're doing. The U.S. is threatening us. You're going to get squished. You're going to have terrible things going to happen to our country because of you picked this stupid fight. And Trump gets to make some jokes in press conferences and make Mark Rutte look uncomfortable. Which is something he really seems to enjoy doing.
So we can't, Trump even said or floated the idea of kicking Spain out of NATO. Right?
Yeah, that can't happen.
Which is not going to happen.
No.
Spain has been a member of NATO for what, like 43 years?
I think it was under Felipe González.
Yeah, I think it was in 1982, and coincidentally back then I think PSOE didn't.
They were against it before they were for it, if you will.
Right. And now we are all in.
We're all in
NATO.
It's all good.
So I guess all we have to do is just wait and see what happens.
Exactly.
Basically.
And we'll see if we get large tariffs on olives.
I hope we don't.
Or for us.
All right. Let's move on to the next subject.
Let's move on.
And we're gonna go from national survival to personal survival, because we're gonna talk about what it takes to defend our own economy in Spain when you're self-employed, or as we call it here, autónomo. So after the break, Ian and Ignacio will tell you all you need to know and fear about choosing
from the tax man.
About choosing that terrifying lifestyle that we call autónomo here.
A lot of you who are watching or who are subscribed to The Bubble are probably self-employed, are working as a freelancers, or maybe are thinking about moving to Spain. You've heard about all the beautiful things about the welfare state and how amazing the weather and the food is here. But we have, is it bad news for you, or at least a warning?
Yeah, it's a warning.
It's a warning. We're going to be talking about the autónomos and why everyone fears being one. But at the same time, a lot of us rely on those autónomos. Ian, what is an autónomo and why this whole debate with being autónomo or self-employed in Spain?
Well, I mean, the autónomo is just the Spanish word or version of being self-employed, working for yourself. There are about 3.4 million autónomos in Spain, so it's a significant part of the society, of the workforce. But Spain's always had an uneasy relationship with people who work for themselves, because it was often thought in the past that if you work for yourself, you basically did so to accept pay without paying your taxes. So the system put in place to regulate self-employed people here is, to put it invasive, is to put it mildly. Like, the state really wants to know every cent you take in and every cent you spend, almost as it happens, as opposed to in other countries like in the U.S. or maybe in UK or Germany, where it's a much more hands-off approach.
So we're talking about plumbers, graphic designers, artists, anyone.
A lot of people own small businesses too.
Got it.
Like a hair salon.
Yeah, and that means paying your taxes, obviously, as anyone does. But like the main difference between being an autónomo or self-employed when it comes to taxes is you also pay a quota for Social Security,
right?
Which is probably one of the most controversial, not tax, because officially it's not a tax, but a fee. Why is that? And why autónomos have to pay a quota, a fee, every month?
Well, I mean, everyone, in a sense, pays a quota or a fee every month, even regular employees. I mean, you pay for your Social Security and your healthcare, your pension, your healthcare. The difference is when you're an employee at a business, the business pays 80% of your quota, and the last 20% is paid by the actual employee. Whereas if you're the autónomo, you have to pay 100% of it, and it can be a huge amount of money. And you pay that even if you don't make any money that month. It's not a percentage of your earnings. It's just a flat fee that is based on your annual earnings. So you might end up paying 300 or 400 euros a month for pension and your Social Security. And in a month when you don't make any money, you still have to pay that for the honor of being able to work, having the chance of working.
And that's on top of your actual
And that's on top of your
job
income
and your
tax.
taxes. And it's kind of like being your HR manager and like tax accountant at the same time, right?
Right.
However, I've watched like the new campaign by Hacienda, by the government, saying "Lo que das vuelve," which basically translates as when you give, like it comes back to you in the shape of social security, pension, public health
Healthcare, all those things, which is true.
But it seems like people are not really buying that. Why do you think there's a mistrust? Kind of like it seems like in Spain, the social contract is somehow breaking. Actually, I saw a few YouTubers moving to Andorra that caused a whole controversy because they were saying, why should I pay so many taxes? And actually, they got a lot of backlash, obviously, because I think in Spain, still like the public healthcare system, public education, everything that is linked to the welfare state, I think, has strong support across the aisle, across parties as well. Why do you think then the new generation of Spaniards are growing with that mistrust of the taxman?
I mean, I think several things. The first is that the monthly quotas are very high. So people who are just starting their career, who are not making much money, feel they're paying a large percentage of their income toward these quotas. Two, they're rising fairly quickly. The government has been raising them so that they will come in line with what an employed person pays, or what is paid for an employed person, both from him and then from the business. And that will be, when they get there, maybe prohibitive for most self-employed people. And the third thing is that younger people look out and they see that their salary as a 32-year-old, the average salary is less than a recently retired person is getting in their pension, which feels somehow backwards. That, the government is spending more effort and much more money sort of helping the retired than helping sort of younger people who are starting out in their careers. And the feeling is that the government is paying these large pensions in order to get votes effectively. And the older people go out and vote, and they're pretty reliable, and the younger people, I guess, aren't. So
especially important in a country with an aging population where the voter turnout for young people is not as high as it is for other people. Wait, but that means that if you raise the quota, that fee, that money is going to the pot where maybe in 30, 40 years, then that means you're going to get a decent pension. That means that at least you're going to have the same rights, or you'll be in a better position, right? That's the theory.
That's the theory.
So what's the problem? Why people are not buying that?
I think people are not buying it because what you just mentioned, there's an aging population, and they're taking much more out than is coming in, or more out than is coming in. So the state is sort of refilling the pot all the time. Mm-hmm. At some point, that may not be possible anymore. So maybe pensions will go down just as these people who are paying more and more into it are going to retire in 30 years. So there's a level, I think, of distrust that it's going to be there for them, that they're actually just paying for their parents to retire and not for themselves.
And it's a matter of math as well, right? Like unless the social security system finds a pot of gold,
right.
Somebody
has to pay more.
Yeah, exactly. And there's this sense that maybe a lot of young people are not necessarily going to get the same future that their parents or grandparents got. Is this telling us a bigger story about culture in Spain, about how we approach self-employment? Because, I don't know, I come from a family where being self-employed was an option, but also many people also told me you should work for the state, for the government. You have a job for the rest of your
Well, let
life.
me turn this back on you. Growing up, how many of your friends went through oposiciones? They're the tests that people go through in order to get a state job. How many of your friends did that in the
I
work for the
mean,
government?
many of them, and actually many of my friends and family, they see it as a safe option. You commit maybe 2 years of your life to studying, because those positions,
hard.
they're hard, depending on the job you're applying to. But at least that means that the reward is going to be a stable job for the rest of your life. Salary may not be as high as you'd love to, although some public positions are very well paid. But again, like, it doesn't really warranty you that as a self-employed person or working in the private sector, you're going to get an amazingly high salary anyways, right?
Right.
So I feel like this also tells us a story about the culture in Spain, about how being self-employed is so challenging, because you have to pay your monthly quota, then you have
to pay your taxes.
You have to
IVA.
get the IVA, which is the VAT that you collect, and then you pay to the taxman. It's a lot of work. That's on top of your everyday job.
Right.
So obviously a lot of people feel not very incentivized by...
No, it disincentivizes working for yourself or sort of entrepreneurship when, the system of carrots and sticks in Spain pushes you into getting either a job at a large corporation or getting a public job that you can be fairly assured you'll have for the next 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything else in our tax system that you feel is making people crazy? And again, I think this is going to be interesting for people who just moved to Spain, maybe people from the UK, from the US, from other countries, where the system is slightly different. If you had to warn people coming to Spain or who just moved to Spain, what else should be in the lookout for?
Well, there's something with the not terribly exciting name of bracket creep that
it's creepy though.
It's creepy.
It's creepy.
That in Spain, they in countries like the U.S. and I believe the U.K., they adjust the tax brackets every year for the inflation numbers, so that because that salaries in generally should go up with inflation. So if you made 50,000 and then there's 10% inflation, just go to 55. So the tax bracket should move up. They don't move in Spain. So basically every year, as you make more money to keep up with inflation, assuming you do, you're actually paying a higher percentage in taxes, which is it does not make people enthusiastic.
Does it mean that I should not be asking for a raise?
Right.
Because that means I maybe getting even less money because I moved to a different
No, you're not
bracket,
going to get less money, but you won't. Basically, say your wage moves up 10%, and your tax bracket, you were paying 20% in taxes before, just say, and then you'd be paying maybe 10.5 or 11% on your new salary. So you're paying a higher percentage without being any richer.
Got it. So it's not necessarily a great news to hear when you get your paycheck. But again, when you're self-employed, these are the kind of things you need to be looking for. And by the way, Ian, you've been writing about the tax system in Spain and the complicated relationship between self-employment and paying taxes in Spain for a while in our newsletter. What are the kind of resources or information that people can find in our newsletter if they subscribe?
Well, we've just published a deep dive into the tax system in Spain, going through some of the issues that show or explain why people who work in Spain hate the taxman here, perhaps more than the tax authorities in other countries.
Well, thank you so much, Ian. By the way, we've also been covering this on social, on Instagram and TikTok. So also let us know what you think. If you've also faced these kind of challenges, share with your friends and family if they're thinking about becoming self-employed. And if you are the Minister of Hacienda, María Jesús Montero, I hope you're not watching. Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to be talking a little bit about music. This is our pop culture section. And I'm Spanish, but I have lived for a long time outside of Spain. So I'm going to need Ignacio to explain. Oh, Ignacio. Not Ignacio.
That sounded very exotic.
Paulina.
Yeah. You're having.
I just pulled up Paulina Rubio. So we're going to be asking Ignacio here about this because I have to admit, I do not know anything about La Oreja de Van Gogh.
Oh my God.
Nothing.
This is gonna be hard.
I don't like their music.
You know, like what? Like,
Hey, let me explain.
okay,
Okay, so I lived outside of Spain for such a long time that I was never engulfed in such a pop cultural moment. The band La Oreja de Van Gogh, which is like a legendary pop band here in Spain, is back in the news this week because of a recent announcement in which Amaya Montero, who was the original lead singer from I think 1996 to 2008, is back. She's now back as the lead singer of the band. The other singer that replaced her has been kicked out. I don't know what's been going on
not
there.
the official term, but yeah, she has been kicked.
But anyway, everyone is crazy about this story, and it's just like I've been trying to think if you had to compare this band La Oreja de Van Gogh to an international band and the drama surrounding it, who would you say this is like?
I think in terms of music and the style, for international audiences or for Spaniards who are like betraying their culture, like you are, it probably sounds like the Cranberries or the Cores, you know. But in terms of the drama, I think it's Oasis level drama, you know, like
that bad.
Yeah, I mean, in Spain there are like a few debates. It's Real Madrid, Barcelona. It's tortilla de patata with or without onion. It's Leire or Amaya. It's getting dirty, and it's getting it's becoming a national debate.
So okay, let's start with the beginning. So why was this band so successful? Because I know the song na 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 na. Everybody knows that song. What's it called? Rosas?
Rosas.
Okay. So but why does it become such an iconic band in Spain?
So all of a sudden, in the late 1990s, they formed this band in San Sebastián, that's in the Basque Country, in the north of Spain. They sold like millions of copies. We're talking about songs that really mixed that melodic pop with kind of like a fluffy lyrics. Like, to be honest, don't expect like massively deep lyrics, but actually their music really, really connected with the audience at the time. They're actually very popular in Latin America as well. Like they did tours in Mexico, Argentina, so many countries.
Right.
So they're big in Spanish-speaking culture. The thing is that right when they were becoming super successful in 2008, all of a sudden the lead singer decides to leave the band. Her name is Amaya Montero. She had a few songs once she started her solo career, but like, to be honest, like
she left the band. She left the band to pursue a solo career.
Yeah,
and she was replaced by
Leire Martinez, who at the time she was a contestant at the X Factor in Spain. There were she even like casted for Operación Triunfo, which is like a massive reality show for singers here in Spain. And well, there was some controversy back then because her voice sounded a lot like Amaya. So in the sense of keeping the style, it worked. La Oreja de Van Gogh was popular for a few extra years, but to be honest, it was never as popular as it was at the beginning with Amaya Montero. Not because Leire is not talented, like she's an amazing singer. It's just like, it seemed like their time had passed.
Right.
Cue a few years later, there's a whole drama last year during a Karol G show.
Oh, I remember this.
All of a sudden, she brings Amaya Montero to the stage with
this was at the Wishing Center
people,
right?
Was it, or was it the Bernabeu Stadium? I don't know.
It was maybe it was the Bernabeu.
Massive,
as you can see,
venues. Anyway, it was like the most popular like reggaeton, like urban Latin singer at the time, bringing Amaya Montero back from the shadows because she has been.
But she had not been singing for a while.
For a few years.
Okay.
She was taking a break.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, she starts singing one of the most popular songs by La Oreja de Van Gogh. At that time, Leire was part of the band. Obviously, a lot of people were like, what does it mean? Is she coming back? Does it mean that La Oreja de Van Gogh is going to do a tour, maybe with Leire and Amaya? I also think probably the members at La Oreja de Van Gogh thought we can earn a lot of money if we do a tour, because they saw the reaction from the audience.
So sorry, but like when Amaya, when Amaya, the original lead singer, when she started singing with Karol G, the band did not know that this was going to happen?
I don't think they did, and if they did, it was kind of nasty because Leire didn't know.
Right.
That was the speculation back then, because a few months later, La Oreja de Van Gogh announces that they're going to disband the group. They were stopping. Leire apparently didn't know about the announcement, and that was the beginning of this whole drama with La Oreja de Van Gogh.
So the new lead singer, who's been the lead singer of the band since 2008,
yes,
didn't know the band was getting disbanded.
That's her version, yes. And obviously, a lot of people in Spain is like, we love La Oreja de Van Gogh, but they're doing Leire dirty. And she's a very talented artist.
Which they have a fair point, right?
Actually, she launched a song on her own a few months later, earlier this year, with a lyric that actually a lot of people interpreted as a attack to their former band members.
And this was last year. Right?
That happened last year, and then this year, Leire launches her solo career.
Right. But then, last week...
That's not the end of the drama.
No.
Then, a few weeks ago,
worse.
They announced that La Oreja de Van Gogh is coming back. They're coming back with Amaya Montero, the original singer, and they're doing a tour. That it's sold out, by the way, in all of their
ka-ching.
Yeah.
But, like... I'm going to tell you what it sounds like from the outside, because I don't know anything about this. But it sounds to me like they just found an excuse to kick Leire out and bring Amaya back.
It looks like it. And by the amount of money that they're making with the sales of the tour tickets, they probably have a good reason to do it. But obviously, people are mad because...
right.
I mean, people love Amaya as well. It's not that it's one against the other, but they're mad at the La Oreja de Van Gogh members for doing this without Leire as well.
And I also assume that there's tons of people who loved Leire maybe more than Amaya, because they started listening to the band when she was already the new singer, and feel betrayed by the way that the band has treated
probably.
Her.
To be fair, most of the hits from La Oreja de Van Gogh are from Amaya's time.
Right.
So Leire, even though she was there for a longer period of time, her music is not as popular as Amaya's music with La Oreja.
Right.
Yeah.
But first of all, I mean, they're already sold out everywhere. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So their strategy worked.
It's working. I mean, in terms of like popular support, I would say it's controversial, but they're selling tickets.
I feel bad for Leire.
Yeah, although Leire is not doing bad either. Leire, who auditioned for Operación Triunfo, I told you that she tried to get into the Academia, which is like the reality show for singers in Spain. I feel like I'm giving you a crash course on pop culture.
I'll take it. Hey, I'm happy.
And reality TV. But actually,
this is good. Keep talking.
She didn't make it to the actual show, but now she's a member of the jury for the current edition of Operación Triunfo, which is still popular, not as it was back in the early 2000s. And there was like a very, very moving moment when all of the members of the Academia, all of the contestants, sang the song that Leire released a few months ago as a solo artist. And obviously there was like this full circle moment where Leire, who used to be aspiring to become a contestant, she's now a member of the jury, and she was supported by all the contestants. So I feel like she has the popular support behind her, but La Oreja de Van Gogh are still super popular.
So maybe she's going to get a happy ending after all.
Hopefully she does. By the way, to add more drama to this saga, one of the original members of La Oreja de Van Gogh decided he's not taking part in this tour.
Oh, is that because of the whole
We don't really know. Again, with everything related to La Oreja de Van Gogh, they're not as transparent in terms of giving reasons why they're not participating. Some people just claim that he's taking a break from music.
Okay, but like, so still, if he's gone, then I guess that we're not going back to the original.
Not
as
the
it was.
original. Although I feel like
That's gonna be annoying, right? Like you were hoping for everybody to
I
get
know.
back together, and then finally, when the lead singer joins, one of the do you say bass players? What-
I'm not that expert in Oreja de Van Gogh, but yeah, he was one of the.
You sound like an expert, though.
I just prepared my segment.
I have to ask you this question first. Do you have tickets?
I tried to buy tickets today. I couldn't because there are like a few available tickets, but like it's all like separate from each other.
Right.
So unless I want to go solo, which is not the case.
But this is a very important moment in Spanish pop culture, right? Everybody, this is something that's probably going to be the biggest. I think we mentioned that in the Bubble newsletter last week. This is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, pop culture event in Spain next year.
Probably it's going to be this one. It's also going to be Rosalía releasing her new album. So 2026 is going to be a big year for Spanish music. By the way, if we were to recommend some La Oreja de Van Gogh songs to people who, like you, don't know them.
That was my second question.
I would say Rosas is a good one.
I know that one. I don't like it, but I know it.
There's a very, very moving one. It's called Jueves, Thursday, that talks about March 11, which was the biggest terrorist attack in Madrid, in Spain, which also became very popular. El Último Vals, which is one of the songs that Lady actually sang with La Oreja. I'm thinking maybe we can create a playlist for our subscribers and maybe add it to the
Which
newsletter.
one is your favorite?
I think it's Cuídate. Yeah, which is
You didn't mention that one.
well, because I
what's
know
it about?
it's not one of the most popular ones, but I really, really like it. And there's one called Pop, which is also funny and very different to the other ones.
All right, you listen to the expert. Cuídate, Pop,
I would say let's do Cuídate,
Rosa?
Rosas,
Jueves,
Jueves. That
and that's
and El Último Vals.
okay.
That's-
I promise to do some sort of homework, and I'll try to listen.
You're lying. I
Sure.
sent you one of the songs and you just admitted
I was busy.
you weren't listening to that. But
mean,
again,
Just give me a few days, okay? I
Okay.
promise I'll get back to you. And this was the first episode of the Bubble podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our newsletter. It's free, unless you're trying to read the Spanish version. That's not free. You need to pay. But it's worth it. So do it. Subscribe. Find us on thebubble.com. Also follow us on social media. We are thebubblecom, @thebubblecom on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, MySpace, whatever. We're all of them. So just try to find us there, follow us, give us a few likes, and again, subscribe. We'll be back next week with more.